All right, Fun Warriors Nation. Oh boy, this is going to be a fun one today because let me tell you, we have the one and only Bobby Johnson from Northern New Jersey, Bergen County, agent here. Bobby, how are we feeling today?
Feeling good. I'm feeling good. I'm happy to be here with you guys, man. You guys are awesome people, and I'm happy to be a part of this whole organization. So I'm excited.
Yeah,
Let's see
man.
what happens.
Well, listen, it's there's a reason that Rich and I wanted to interview you because last year was probably one of your biggest years, from what I understand, in terms of growth that I think you had. And but yeah, tell us like how you got in the business and kind of what you did before, but then also, what changed in the last like 5 years for you that you moved markets and kind of give us like the background download with about Bobby right now.
Yeah, I'll try to do that. So I got into real estate officially in 2004 is when I got licensed, and prior to that, I had a health and fitness company in Hoboken. I was a licensed massage therapist, personal fitness instructor, and I created a sound body health and fitness was the name of my company, and it was great. But it was physical hard work, right? And simultaneous, I had moved up to Miami from Miami at the time, and so looked in search for a whole new life, and found it in Hoboken and here in New Jersey. And I think after the first couple of years, I also found myself wandering the streets of New York City and into the comedy club scene, and then getting into stand-up comedy at the same time. So it was like all these wild things were happening, at the same time. And it seemed that real estate would be more financially supportive of while I was pursuing my craft in comedy. So I had a strong 10-year run. It was so much fun. Got to travel, perform with names that you guys would definitely know of and heard of. And I think in 2000, fast forward to 2011 is when I really started to dig deep into real estate. Comedy was amazing. Got to travel the world. It was a really cool experience. At the same time, I didn't feel grounded. I felt
Mm.
this like I want like a family. I want all these things that I kind of was craving for, and I wasn't finding that in comedy. So I stopped doing that. Went into real estate full time, and then in 2011, and then in 2015 is when I got into coaching, and that's what really just took the business to it just became real estate as a business,
Mm.
no longer as a scavenger trying to find and hope and wait that stuff happens. And so that was just a huge game changer from that point on in terms of the approach and talking to people and connecting, and then fast forward from there till here. Um, and then jumping into this world with you guys within the last couple of years now has been amazing. I think the support, uh, the high level of information that you guys provide has been a game changer. And as you mentioned earlier, I had my best year in real estate last year, and this is coming off of having the worst year in real estate from the pandemic. It was a really scary time, um, and so to see a shift that was so extreme happen from one year to the next, was wild. And I think that was right around the same time that you and I connected. And it just feels like we've been elevating ever since from there.
It's amazing. Well, I actually didn't even know that whole like trajectory. That was like it sounded like the first 5 years where you were just kind of like winging it, whatever. I'm an agent, I'm a comedian, I'm this and that, have a healthcare company, and then the second 5 years, like so it was then more like, okay, I'm more of an agent now, but I'm just kind of doing whatever I can. And
Yeah.
then it wasn't until you had that coach, like you said, and then almost so that was 10 years it took you to find that coach, and then it became serious. And so, I always have a saying that's called BC and AC, before coaching and after coaching. It's like a game changer. And I feel like if you resonate with that coach, there's the sky is the limit, obviously. So Bobby, tell us a little bit more then about like what the transition was and how because you mainly were working in the Hudson County, Hoboken area, from what I understand. And I saw you on stages way back in the day, and panels and different things. And so, what made you shift, and why did you do that? And what was that transition like when you said it was a little bit of a hardship for you?
Yeah. So it was, I mean, you know, having been entrenched in the Hudson County market for my entire career in real estate, that first 16 years, and then making the move physically from there to into Bergen County to Tenafly, that was a major culture shock in that regard. In terms of real estate, I would say as big or even bigger than physically moving from Miami to New Jersey, in the sense that you know, different market altogether, right? From that Hoboken, Hudson County, where it's such a big condo heavy market, into a suburban single family marketplace. So that was one, right? And then culturally speaking, you know, when I first started out, you know, doing my prospecting and lead gen calls, and I remember calling around the area and people telling me, hey, asking me literally what my denomination was, and then and if it wasn't matching up with theirs, I was gonna have a difficult time selling their house. So I was like, oh, that's interesting.
That's
Okay,
very true. Yeah, that's very true.
so that
Hmm.
was like, you talk about a mindset, you know, challenge initially doing that. So you know, just you know, all I could think to do at that point, and then seeing that in this market in Bergen County specifically, there are like literally a handful of agents that dominate the majority of the marketplace. So I just started going, you know, I started branching out, getting ancillary with the market reach, and just digging in and just talking to as many people as I could on a daily basis. And also trying to get creative with how I connected with people. I started getting into doing these events. I got to
Mm.
tell you this one story about my first ice cream
Oh,
event.
yes. Yeah, please go ahead.
That's a
Share
good
away.
one. So again, it's like trying to figure this whole thing out, right? And like really, you know, hanging on to my Hudson County business, but at the same time, building this new Bergen. I was determined to build this Bergen County business, and so, you know, trying to figure that out. Yes, making the calls, absolutely, and learning the marketplace. But then, how can I go a step further? And I had connected with an agent out of Canada, really cool agent, Geeta, and I can't think of her last name, but she told me that, you know, she had done the same thing where she switched markets, and so they were got into this whole event thing, and they got into this ice cream truck event where they rented an ice cream truck, had it go to a park, they promoted it, and they said the first year like 6 people showed up, and then they just expanded from there where hundreds of people started showing up. So I was like, why not? Especially here in the suburbs, you have all these families with their kids. So I did it. We found the local ice cream truck guy here in Tenafly, right? And I had no idea what I was doing, by the way. Just got a hold of him, got a hold of the town. They gave me the permit information where I could post like signs around the town. I promoted it to my database, and then the day of, I mean, we had I don't know, 30, 40 people showed up. We set it up at a park, a local park in town. And I remember two particular conversations that I had with the people that were there, which fast forward turned into 4 transactions at $80,000 in GCI from this
Wow.
one event. Well, from an $800 investment, by the way.
Wow.
So I
That's
was like,
amazing.
oh, okay, do more ice cream truck events. People love ice cream.
Yeah. Wow.
So it was just you know, just I think when you're coming into something new and trying to figure it out, and you're getting this different feedback from the local market, whether it be the people, the consumers, or the agents, you got to just be creative and dig deeper, and look to your associates and your peers that are producing at high levels, and see what they're doing, obviously, and sponging off of that, you know.
Have
And
you done any other events since then?
yeah, I've morphed that into these pickleball events.
That's right.
I love to play pickleball. Uh, until as of late, my little injury, but no, I mean it's been another huge, because it's a big, you know, sporting thing out here now, especially in the suburb. I mean, you got, even in Hoboken, Hudson, everyone's playing pickleball now.
Hmm.
You know, so just finding other ways to connect with people in an organic way, right? Do something fun and being cool about it, right? You know, not showing up as Bob the realtor. You know what I mean? Like, it's like
Hmm.
just connecting on something that I love to do, and people enjoy that. And then we attach a good cause to all the events. That's, I think, that's something that's very attractive to people. And again, makes it more organic, and just building. We built that. We've had 4 or 5 of them in the last couple of years, and it's been great. So between the events and really doing a lot of circle prospecting into the marketplace. I think all of that kind of, you know, came to fruition last year where we had this breakout year in real estate. So, yeah.
Wow.
Now, when you were in the business for, we'll call it 10 years before you decided to do anything, and then you decided to get the coach, all right? What was one specific thing that they said to you that you didn't know that propelled your business to get the jump start?
I think the biggest thing that I remember getting into coaching that like stood out for me was, having a schedule. You know what I mean? Like setting this up and running this as a business and starting that by having a schedule. You know, in what industry, can you, other besides real estate, can you just show up and wing it, so to speak, right? And not have be accountable, right? So it was the schedule and the accountability and just creating all of those things that go into what would be considered a corporate job where you have to abide by those things or you don't have a job, right? This is the only industry where you cannot show up to the office for 6 months, and when you do come in, they're like, "Hey, what's going on, man? They're throwing a party for you." Only in real estate, right? So that was the big takeaway I think up front, the accountability and the schedule, the structure, which is what I so desperately needed. I don't know if I have ADD. I'm pretty sure I do, but I think that was such a game changer for me. Going, oh, okay, having this schedule, doing this at this time, and following that on a daily basis. I think that's where it started to resonate and click.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. I mean, so I'm hearing a couple of things, right? Like that accountability. By the way, I do believe because I'm very ADD myself that ADHD people do very well in this industry for a reason. You have this like flexibility, but not if you really want to be successful. And I love how everything kind of came together. And if you can kind of like share with us, so you were what was if you don't mind sharing with the group and then in the community here, which is you were making around like the lower six figures, if I'm not mistaken, right? For the last, let's say, 2, 3 years or so. Is that right?
Yeah. Pre-pandemic is when I was finally breaking into that low six figure, income on a consistent basis. I would say the last 3 to 4 years, where I was making like up to 150, 120, 150 in that range. Pandemic hit and it severed in half.
Wow.
And that was a very scary time because we also made the decision, at the time my wife's an educator, and so we had her salary. We scaled her back because we had our child, and we thought we didn't want the whole daycare thing, so we wanted to be hands-on and with that. So you know said, hey, we're doing fine off of what I'm making right now. This is all pre-pandemic. So we pulled her back, and then the pandemic hit because my son was born in 2019. And then what was it, March 2020, pandemic. And I was like, holy cow, what do we do here? And so, I mean, it was a very scary time. And you talk about working on the mindset on a daily basis,
Hmm.
a heavy daily regimen of that, plus just talking to as many people as I could. Circle prospecting was like my second nature every day. All I was doing, just picking up the phones, talking to 40, 50, 60 more people a day. And it's all I could think to do, at that time. So
So, but Bobby, like your circle prospecting though, that's so I think so we get, talk to a lot of agents obviously, and we hear this, but like it sounded like there was no other plan B for you. It's almost like you kind of had this thing that you had to do. Is that what you kind of were you felt like almost forced that you had to do? And this is like the only way I can build my business at this point? Or did you have other options and you chose not to pursue those?
yeah, man, that's such a great question because I was like, when there's a family involved, it's such a game change, right? The perspective changes dramatically when you're responsible for the lives and well-being of other people besides yourself. And so that was, I was like, well, I mean, at one point it got so scary. I was like, okay, do I drive an Uber? I mean, like I was thinking about stuff like that, man. I was like, wow, am I really considering something like that?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, it just doesn't make sense financially, right? When you think about what a commission check can earn you versus doing something alternatively, it's just like, no, stay the course,
Yeah.
stay the course, right? You know, get away from that and stay focused. And that's what I did. I just said, I'm going to keep talking. I'm going to hug my database. I'm going to, it changed the way I think, by the way, my
Mm.
entire approach in terms of connecting with people, right? How can I
Nice.
help you now? It no longer was about, business and the right now business. No, it's just like I was making calls at a certain point, like, how are you guys doing? What do you need? Do you need any resources? And I really believe that that approach combined with the heavy calling was the game changer, was the payoff, was the ultimate payoff. It was the ultimate payoff.
Amazing that you recognize that. So basically you started sharpening your skills and you really took a defined look into your actual business and was like, hey, I am not, there's no plan B here. I'm gonna run in this treadmill until the treadmill stops, right?
100%. There was no safety net behind me. There was nothing. I'm like,
Wow.
this is all in. And I'm so glad. I feel like even sharing it with you guys because I never really put that into perspective until even talking to you guys about it right now. And
Mhm.
it's almost like it's a really intense feeling when you think about that, like what was happening at that time and the choices that were made as a result. Just the commitment to say, no, I'm going all in here. It's and I'm so glad that I did because we'll look at what happened consequently, from staying the course. All these doors open, all these good things happened and came to fruition as a result from just trusting that, and just having that blind faith, right? That, this is it. And not only the doors that opened, the income that ultimately generated, the connections that were made to people like you guys who for so long, even from getting into coaching in 2015 till 2-3 years ago, I still wasn't seeing like myself around the high level people, the big thinkers and producers. I was smart enough to stay away from the negative stuff, but I wasn't coming into contact with the bigger stuff. I'd see them in these podcasts and and events and things like that. But to then get into contact with people like you guys, that was really what brought this up to another level, right? Because it's like, here we go. Here's what I've been looking for. People that are like boots on the ground, producing at high levels, that are giving such value, right? And then just good people that have your best interests. I was looking for that combination of all that. And so I was just staying away from anything negative until this. And here it is. So
I mean, and thank you for saying that, Bob, because we feel the same about you. That you came into I feel like our world in a way that was so organic, right? And I feel like the best relationships happen as a result of that organic kind of you put that out in the universe, right? And I think it was because of the phone warrior group that we had that's what I guess you got exposure to kind of excuse me what we were doing. Am I correct on that?
it's kind of funny because part of when I got into coaching, yes, by the way, because of when I got into coaching in 2015 and then almost synonymously got into a prospecting group. And I was like, oh, this is, so I've been in this environment where you had this daily accountability. And it was always a small group, 6, 8 people. And and then when the group that I was in for years, by the way, had dismantled, and I remember one of the agents in this group, in the Phone Warriors group, kept telling me about Phone Warriors. I'm like, okay. I'm like, so I finally I tiptoed in one day and I saw like 30, 40 people, and I was like, what the hell is that? I'm like, this is way too much, man. I know, like I'm in a corner. I'm like, dude, I can't be here. I was like, this is like way above my pay grade. It's just like, how can I focus? And I was like getting into my head with this massive amount of people. So when the group dismantled, I was like, I almost forced myself to jump in to the Phone Warriors group, and I'm so glad I did because it was an immediate shift into like, wow, look, these are people that there's such a big number of people here, yes, but they're all like top level people. So that was the beginning of having that experience of being around people that are either there or looking to get there, and that was a big game changer for me. And then I connected with you. I think we started to have these just like you said, organic conversations, right? Um, and for people who don't know, Dean did not attract me. It sounds so. Hey, he was not my type. Okay.
Yeah.
No, no, Dean never like came after me to come into eXp because I was still with KW before at that point. And but I think those conversations with each other and having that background, that similar background in entertainment, you being a musician and me in comedy, so there was that common ground, and just I think that's where it really just spiked to a whole new level of like, wow, this is again, I'm in the right place. So I made the decision because I was actually at the point where I was going to make the switch from KW into eXp, and I had another person who I was going to connect with and to become my upline and attract, bring me in. And no, I shifted that, and it was because of those conversations that we had. It was because of that genuine approach that you kept giving to me, that information, that value, and just like, hey, whatever I can do to help. And that was like, say no more. It was very easy for me to make my decision at that point.
You know, um, by the way, I thank you for saying all that, and I think it's a mutual feeling and also decision on our part to take you in as well. And I think also you said something very interesting. If you go back just a bit about the COVID years that you had, when you said when you had no other plan, there was no plan B or plan C, let alone, and it was plan A, which was circle prospect, make it happen. And because of the integrity of the kind of person, the character that I feel like you possess, and Rich and I have become to know about you, is it clearly came out when when the pressure was on you to figure something out. And you said something so key, which is that I was having genuine conversations. And then what's funny is then we got connected, and then you basically, it sounded like that genuineness, what you're talking about, kind of all aligned. And I had no idea that that was something you developed on your own. And then it just so happened that we got connected, and the rest is history, as they say. So, can you tell for the group, if you wouldn't mind saying this, what was your GCI last year in 2024 after you made the shift into EXP, this in this world of the tree that we're in here?
Yeah, it was 458,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible, dude. So basically, what I'm understanding is like around 100-ish, the year before, and then 458, right? So I mean, that's it. That's to me incredible. I mean, yes, all these actions that you took over the last couple years, right? Circle prospecting, ice cream trucks, whatever else that you did. What do you feel like? What are like the one to two things that you feel like that either you received that allow you to do what you already knew inside you could do, or what are those like points that if someone was listening to this, they're like, how do you go from 100 to 4? Like that's over a 4x, almost 5x return, a year over year growth.
Yeah.
How did you do it?
So, it's easy to say, well, I just believed in myself, or to say that you know, I'm fully responsible for how this all happened, which ultimately, yes, you make those decisions. But I think number one is always showing up no matter what, even when you don't have a clear path on what's happening. I mean, I came from a really turbulent background, childhood, and so forging through life, it was tough because you're on your own. You're trying to figure it all out. You don't have any familial support. So all the mistakes that you make as a result of what you experienced as a child, and then bringing that into your adult life. And somehow I had this strong will within myself to say, even when I wasn't in the right place, this is not it. So it was a lot of learning and unlearning, uh, as a result of what that experience was like, and just continuing to show up every day and in every way that I could possibly do that. And even when times got at their toughest, you know, where I was like, how do I figure this out? Or even trying to align, as I mentioned earlier, with good people, right? Or trying to attract, you know, good people, and wondering how am I not, how can I get into those relationships and get in the company of those people? And I think it was two things. I think one, it was ultimately like I said earlier, continuing to show up, even when you're not clear on where it is you're going, but just keep showing up.
Mm.
In our case, keep picking up the phones, keep moving forward. And then the other thing is the number two is like, honestly, it's when people start to believe in you, and when you hear that, because again, when you don't have that fundamentally built into you from your parents, which is where you're supposed to have that initial support from, you kind of look to others for it. And so sometimes when you can't see things yourself, hearing it from other people like you guys, you know, the support that you guys give on a daily basis, that belief. I mean, that you've like flat out told me, like, I know you got this, you know, and that belief that you guys have in me has just been fuel, such a fuel that it just tells me that, hey, I do have this. And so having that support, so it's those two things, keep showing up, and again, finding those people who are good human beings who believe in you in ways that you may not even see, and just building on that, you know. And I don't know if that sounds a little whatever, but that's my story, man. That's the reality.
And that's an amazing story, and something they should be proud to want to tell people about, and continue the trajectory of where your business is going to go from this year to the next year to the year after that. And it'll just be a little blimp in the radar at one point in time.
Yeah.
So it's amazing results. Um, I know you said that your schedule is what you contributed to, but do you think that there was any correlation from having the fitness slash health side of the business to that transpired in real estate? Do you see any correlation between the two?
Yeah, definitely. I think when interestingly, I noticed that the paths that I've chosen, all the career paths that I've chosen throughout, life, my life, it had been service oriented. So, so I think that was what kind of set the groundwork up for this, right? And really doing this from the place we're now doing it at, and aspiring to do even more so, which is of service, right? Building those deeper relationships with people. And I think, yeah, it really started from having the health and fitness business going, right? Helping people who are trying to, either, aspire to be more healthy in some way or another, right? So that was definitely, I think, a big beginning of what fast forwarded to what, how I model my real estate business now, for sure.
That's
Yeah. And then Bobby, do you is it true that you like run like 10 miles a week, or you work out like still crazy? Like you're pretty a fit guy, right?
Yes, I am, and I will pay you for that compliment later. But yeah, I mean, that was part of this commitment too, because it's so interesting, like how when you make the choice to commit to this, and it all kind of synergizes, right? There's no, like, this part of your life is up here and this other part is down here. For me anyway, it seems like it all kind of works together. I feel like I see my family life has improved, my work, my business life, the fitness. I mean, I've never been so consistent, getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, going, to the gym, or running, going through my cardio workout, and seeing the growth and improvement on that over time as well. So absolutely, it's been a game changer there too, the consistency in the health and fitness.
So for everyone that is listening that is wondering, then what does Bobby's day look like? Can you share with the community what your schedule is right now? Like what talking about the schedule like Rich is asking, and what we're talking about here. What is your schedule right now, and what are you doing throughout the day?
Yeah, I mean, starts from, time I open my eyes, I wake up, and before I even get out of bed, I go through this whole visualization process, like a chanting out loud of my goals and dreams, right? That's about a 5 minute experience there. And then I get up, I make my bed, I read this book, Make Your Bed, years back, which I'm pretty sure you guys have heard of. That guy in the military who gave that amazing commensurate speech, and then it turned into a book. And so ever since then, I haven't missed. I make my bed before I start my day every single day. And just a simple act or ritual of that, how that sets up the rest of your day from just making your bed, has been another huge game changer. So, so from there, I go into whatever exercise, whatever, whether it's to the gym, to lift, to weights, or to do my cardio, which I do at home. And we have a treadmill. And so that's 5 days a week, right? So I'm up, I meditate, I visualize, make my bed, exercise, and all before I even start, my calls. And then from there, I get into, I sign on to my phone warriors and get on there, and usually I'm one of the first two, if not the first one, because I like to get on before 8. But there's always going to be a couple people there, and so that gets the next level of accountability going. I hop on the calls from like 8 to 8 till 11, right? With some short breaks in between, and then we have our team meeting, which I thought that was going to be an issue at one point because it's a break in the calls, but wow, that's actually gone the other way for me. It's actually, the tips and tools and things that I'm picking up from those meetings has been huge. And then from that, it goes right into lunch, and take that little break, and then I'll listen to something, either some sort of mindset break. I'll put on listen to something on YouTube, whether it's something inspirational or fun and humorous. I'll watch a little comedy, pull up some of my old comedy YouTube clips, the funny ones. No, no, I'll watch myself, but yeah, and then hop right back into it. So and then I set up the afternoon schedule, right? Whether it's appointments, if there are no appointments there, hop on some more calls, look for people to help, and then try to end the day around 5 or 6 if I can, to then spend time with my family, have dinner with my son and my wife, and then get him all settled, and then come back down. Sometimes I'll 2 3 times a week make some evening calls, and that's been huge too, by the way. And you kind of put me onto those evening calls as well. So that's
Nice.
essentially the Monday through Friday schedule.
Gotcha. And what does your weekends look like right now?
Weekends, all Saturdays, I'll do a morning work schedule.
Mhm.
It's been a little interesting lately because my son has, he's getting at the age now where he's got the activities, he's got his
Yeah.
little ninja class. And that's at 10 o'clock. So I don't like to miss that. I like to be there with that. But we've got it set up now where it's like I'll go either every other week, or I'll make some early calls in the morning, take him to, out, and then we'll to his class, and then all have breakfast after, and then we'll come back, and then maybe I'll hop on some more calls for a little bit, and then just try to take the second half of Saturday into the rest of the weekend for family time.
Wow. That's great.
Yes, sir.
Well, listen, I think that is definitely a lot of great knowledge that you dropped. I'm glad to hear, how, real estate was a struggle. Now it's more of an accelerator for yourself. So in terms of anybody listening to this, right? And questions that I would ask is, why is Bobby doing this for himself, his family? Like, what is your ultimate goal? And if you were not here on this earth anymore, what would you want to be known as, like written on black and white, encrypted on your tombstone?
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of interesting things you just said there. But I think the one thing that stands out to me more than anything is always show up. Always show up. Do not give up on yourself. And even when you don't have the answer, you just have to keep showing up. And in terms of real estate, part of that is that showing up means just pick up the phone. Amazing things happen when you just pick up the phone, right? Your mindset shifts, your skills pick up, you find opportunities. It doesn't cost you anything. You just have to pick up the phone. And I think show up for yourself and show up for other people. I think if you can really start to like embody that in yourself and in your life, show up for yourself, right? You have to show up for yourself so that you can be there for other people. And I think if you live by that creed alone, it's a start to a trajectory that can be very, very, very beneficial.
Well, I mean, I wrote down a couple of things I just want everyone to know as we're about to wrap up here, because Bobby, this has been, amazing. I think a lot of value for agents to listen to. But I wrote down three things. What it's clearly states to me is you bet on yourself. You clearly bet on yourself every day by showing up and doing what you're supposed to do. You adapted. Your adaptability is something that I didn't realize how deep it goes for you, but it's there in a big, big way. And then the third thing I wrote down is being like having a simple schedule and like having that simple things that we don't need to make this so complex. Having a foundation that's simple, and then you can be creative whenever else you want, because that's part of like this whole thing is that's where I think this is your next level. And um yeah, I mean, it's so great. I mean, what I really take into this, I mean, is that people will come to you for advice after hearing this. And I know it's going to happen. We already had an agent the other day reach out to you, right? Like, hey, what was your story? Like, who is this guy? Like, what I mean? People are starting to notice. This is what happens. And so, what would you say if what words of advice are you going to give to agents? Let's say they are in the same place. What are one of the two things that you would tell two agents that would come to you and say, "Look, Bobby, I saw your podcast. Like, I'm in the same boat right now. Like, give me some advice here. Like, what should I be focused on? What should I be doing to get to your level of success and beyond that I know you're going to go?" What are you telling to that agent right now?
Yeah, I think it's similar to what we've been saying here is you know again, when you just don't know what the answer is or what the solution is, what can you do? What actionable step can you take? Right? That's the key, because it's like we can get in our heads and we can live in here, and that's a dangerous place if you don't take action. And I think that's the key that I would say to anybody is, yeah, have that reflection. Be careful with how much of that reflection turns into that negative self-talk where it reverses the effect that you're looking for. And the way to get past that overthinking or negative self-talk is to act, right? Move your body in any way that you can, through exercise or picking up the phone, but get yourself out of that, right? So you got to start there, right? There's so much information out there right now. Right? You can go on YouTube. I always say YouTube was the dad I never had. I learned how to tie a tie on YouTube. YouTube is my father. Daddy YouTube. But and so and find those people. You got to look, seek those people that are out there. And like, again, back to you guys, you and Rich, this is what I've been looking for, right? I knew that it existed before I even knew that it existed. Is like, I'm like, there have to be people out there that are like-minded, that there's common ground with, that are people that are genuinely good people, and that are making this, doing this, running this business in a way that's just so much more than what you see. This superficial stigma that's attached to real estate and sales, right? People that are actually just good people that are going for that deeper impact and more meaningful experience from what we do. That's what I've been looking for. And so keep going until you find, I mean, look, if you're watching this, guess what? You found them. You found them. So you know what I mean? So like trust yourself. Trust yourself. That's been the biggest challenge for me, but learning to trust myself. And the way to do all that is just by taking those little steps every single day. Keep showing up, keep picking up the phones, find those people. They're going to help you get to that other side and maybe believe in you in a way that you didn't believe in yourself.
And I'm going to flip it now. And I'm going to say the exact same thing, but to yourself 20 years ago. So if there's one thing that you can tell yourself, if you took a time machine back and said, I'm going to visit Bobby in 2004 when I got licensed, I'm going to visit Bobby in those mid 2000 years, what are you telling yourself now, or back then rather, that you wish that you know now to be true, or that is like something that you know that you would be like, man, I if I had this piece of knowledge, I would have I would already been where I'm at now 15 years ago, let's say, or whatever, right? So what are you telling to yourself back then?
Number one, if you can, buy a piece of real estate. Number two, hire a coach or a mentor. Get a mentor as quickly as, in fact, before buying a piece of real estate, get the coach first. Find a mentor immediately because we do not have all the answers. And so you need to get in alignment with somebody who's been there, done that, and can give you a path, right? Can give you that path to move you forward. And I just, I think what you're saying when you say go back to 2004, because even in 2011, when I committed to this full time, there were agents that were higher level agents who I was connecting with, which were saying to me, you should get into coaching. And I just wasn't ready for it. That was 2011. It wasn't, so it was another 4 years after that.
Wait, hold on. Can I ask you why do you feel like you weren't ready for it back then?
I think I wasn't ready for the truth. I feel like I wasn't ready to hear the truth.
Wow.
About what this is, about what this could be. Right? I was still in that wing it mode. I got this. I got it. I've done it my whole life on my own. I got it. I can keep doing it this way.
Wow.
So I think it was that ego and fear that held me on to that older version of myself.
Wow.
Until
I'm blown away by that answer. I genuinely I'm blown away that how true what you just said is, that you were not ready for the truth, and that took you and it cost you 4 more years of your life that you could have been living five, you know what I mean, in that period of time. That's wow, what a powerful and incredible statement. I mean, listen, guys, um, anyone has any Bergen County referrals, Bobby, what's the best way for someone to reach out to you for any referrals of buyers, sellers, anybody that's looking to do real estate stuff?
can I just say one thing?
Sure.
We just said,
Yeah.
be careful with the look back, about choices that you could have made. Do not fall into the trap of regret, right? That's just where you were in life at that point. And that's what life was for you at that point. I refuse to look back and go, ugh, I should have, because I did, and I still struggle with that sometimes too. So be real careful about that too.
I
Look
love
back,
that.
as a lesson, right? As a learning tool, but be here, because if only by being here could I be meeting with people like you.
Mm.
So that's really important. I just wanted to kind
No,
of
that's
put that
great.
out.
Thank you. That's a very good qualifier on that. 100%.
Yeah. As far as reaching me, yeah, I mean, I'm online, at Bobby Johnson Real Estate NJ, social media. You can follow me there. Jump into Phone Warriors. You can find me there every day. Find me in Phone Warriors chat group,
Got paid.
7:45
That's
every
right.
morning.
That's right.
That's where you
Yeah.
can find me. So
Well, we're excited to keep on prospecting with you every single day, making this happen together. And really, you've been I mean, just an unbelievable. Not even. It's like you're the addition and the culture fit that you fit into the Dean Clark group now, being on the team, but then even before the team, and you're your own agent. Just like this level of just maturity that I think you bring to the business now that because you've been so open about everything is quite astounding. So I commend you. You're the man, and we're gonna keep on rocking and growing to stratospheres that you don't even know existed yet.
I'm so excited for that. Just knowing that that's real, because I'm connected with people like you guys, and I have to give you both, your flowers right here too in this conversation, because like I said earlier, this is what I was hoping for in my life and looking for. And so to see it and to be a part of it now, it's like it's such a connected feeling to have, to know like, it's real. It's such a epiphany when you finally connect with what you knew, what you believed, what you had hoped truly existed, and now you have it here in front of you, and you're directly connected with it. And so now it's just like, now I really know, and I really believe that the sky's the limit. And it's not this big thing that I was just, like a fantasy. This is real now.
Wow.
Well,
That's
thank you. I appreciate that.
100%.
All right, guys. Well,
you.
you've heard it. Yes, go ahead. Yeah, finish off.
Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, so thank you for listening to this amazing conversation. Bobby, we really appreciate you.
Right back at you. See you, boys.